Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Strong with Dr. Michael G. Daniels. This is your host, CB Baker, and I have a really good episode for you today. We have an extra guest in here today. We have the son of Michael G. Daniels in here today, Carlton Daniels. I will be referring to him as Chad because that's how I know him. But welcome to the show, Dr. Daniels.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for always hosting the program, and it's just great to be here, and hopefully that we can discuss some things today that will be a benefit to all the listeners.
And Chad?
What's going on, everybody out there? You know what I'm saying? You might know me from the keyboard player at Enoch Baptist Church. You may know me from, Virginia Beach Police Department, so forth and so on. I'm just happy to be here, CB. Thanks for inviting me. It's not every day that you get to sit beside, somebody that you admire and somebody you strive to be like. A lot of people don't get that experience. But see, me, I've been blessed to be able to live with that person who I've always aspired to be like, and have aspired to, to continuously try to impress and continuously try to, show, that I'm a good product. Of the 31 years, So, I'm just happy to be here today.
So, we was all together one time and we were sitting around talking about topics for a podcast. I said, what would be a great topic would be discussing you all's relationship. And Chad, I was talking with you. I said, how was it growing up as a pastor, as your father? And you was like, man. So I wanted to get that capture that on audio and also on camera. So how was it growing up with a pastor as your dad?
Well, like I said, man, a lot of times, I think a lot of people have a stigma, of what they think a pastor's son or daughter may go through. And in some cases, it may be true. I don't know. But I just know for me growing up, like I said, I've always had a father as a father and a pastor as a pastor. And what I mean by that, it was like I didn't know Pastor Daniels as Pastor Daniels. I knew him as Dad. You know what I'm saying? So like growing up in the house, we never had lectures about, what Romans chapter 9 said.
So he wasn't walking down behind you with a Bible.
No. It was never, thou shalt nots and none of that. It was just strictly, just living with a regular dad, with a father. When I saw him in church, I still saw him as dad, but he was in a different light, of course, as a pastor. But then at home, he was just dad. It won't a whole bunch of, preaching. Actually, it was no preaching at all. It was
no preaching.
No preaching.
So, Dr. Daniels, how did you incorporate? 'Cause I know you had to incorporate some of the things from the Bible into raising Chad. How did you incorporate that without it coming off as being preachy?
Well, I think that any parent ought to incorporate the Bible, in their parenting scheme, because I certainly got to always recognize that our Creator knows more than we do about how to rear His own creation. So, for example, the Bible says, fathers, don't provoke your children to wrath. In other words, don't do anything that causes your children to be angry with you. And a lot of times people think that's hard to do, but it's really easy. And so what I try to do is, if I'm going to punish, my children for anything, always make sure the punishment was fair. It was never harsh punishment. But also always gave them at least one slip. Everybody deserves one mistake. So I would always let them make one mistake, and then once they made that mistake, I would say the next time, this is what the punishment is going to be.
Right.
And so we would agree upon the punishment. And so the next time we did it, we didn't argue about it. I didn't change my mind. It was straightforward. We had already agreed. We're going to lay it down. So it was always fair.
So do you agree that it was always fair?
Yeah. It was always fair. Not to say that I wasn't falsely accused for stuff that I didn't do.
Right.
I'm not gonna say falsely accused, but I accepted blame. A lot of stuff, Katrina would do a lot of stuff, and then she wouldn't fess up to it. But somebody had to fess up to it, or else everybody go down.
Right.
So I was always that one falling on the sword.
So you sacrifice yourself.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody got to do it.
Well, that shows that he absorbed the Christian principle, right?
Right.
Because somebody sacrificed. Yeah.
Right.
I will say this, as a parent, never would both of them get punished if I didn't know who did it. So It's not like I would have punished both. I just would always say somebody is going to be punished. So somebody better fess up.
Mm-hmm.
So you would fess up to save Katrina.
You know what? I would fess up just because. Okay, for instance, and this is really the only time that it happened I can remember.
Yeah, only one time.
It was only one time, but it was a 100 grand candy bar. Okay.
Right.
Now, and it belonged to Pastor Daniels, and I didn't eat. It was 100 grand candy bar. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, that candy bar came missing. Now that candy bar was in his drawer in the kitchen. Everybody knew, even to this day. Like you always know what drawer kind of belongs to, my dad, and you're not supposed to go in it. Period.
Right.
And but I just remember it was a 100 grand candy bar. I don't know if you ever had one of those before.
Never had one.
Okay. See, now this happened probably about when I was in elementary school. Okay. Now I didn't know what a 100 grand candy bar tastes like until middle school. Okay.
Gotcha.
So this 100 grand candy bar got missing. And then it was both me and Katrina got brought down, and it was somebody took this candy bar. Chad, did you take it? I'm like, no, I didn't take it.
Right.
Because I knew I didn't take it.
Right.
Katrina, did you take it? No, I didn't take it. I don't know what's going on. I already knew it wasn't me.
Right.
So I knew it wasn't my mom, it was Katrina, okay? She wasn't fessing up to it, okay? So I remember talking to Katrina. I said, listen, you got to tell him you did this. But, she, it wasn't me. So I'm thinking that everybody already suspected me because it was a candy bar. And I was the one that liked to eat candy.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Everybody already think I did it. Everybody are probably saying I did it. And if I don't say I did it, then it's going to look like I'm lying.
Right.
But I really didn't do it.
Gotcha.
But so I just went ahead and say, you know what? I did it. Katrina get all scot-free, okay?
So what punishment did you get?
You know what? I really don't remember the punishment. I just remember being scared because I knew I was going to get the punishment.
So what was the punishment, Dr. Daniels?
He just had the right that I will not steal from my father. So again, that's my point to you. You wouldn't have confessed to something you didn't commit if you thought the punishment was going to be grievous.
Right.
Because your thought is, now I know the lying punishment is greater than the stealing punishment because that's how it was. If you lied, it was greater. But I was not a corporal punishment parent. So, I think the last time I probably spanked my kids when they were like 4 or 5 years old, but just a little tap or something like that. So it was always.
So you wasn't a belt wielding.
No. It was writing. You're gonna write 100 times. This kind of thing.
Right.
Because as a parent, my thing was not about punishing you, but correcting you. It was teaching you more so than anything else. And so I wasn't really trying to inflict pain. I was trying to teach you. And so I found that spankings did not teach you what spankings do is teach you how to hide. That's all it does. But if I'm trying to help you learn something, to me that's the better tool.
So which one would you rather have? Would you rather have the psychological warfare? That's really what pastors over here talk about. Mm-hmm. Or would you rather just had it, just give me the pain right now and let it be done? Which one would you rather have?
Well, you know what? I can't really remember which one I would have rather chose. However, I can remember this. See, because like I said, my dad never did the the physical pain. That was always, Sister Daniels. She was the one that had the belt. She was the one leaving the marks on everybody.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not sweet first lady.
Listen, sweet first lady had a sweet right hand. Okay, and that right hand had that belt in it, Jack. Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you. I remember one day I come home from work, and the next door neighbors are standing in their driveway, looking up at Katrina's room. And when I turn the call off, I can hear Katrina screaming. So I go upstairs. I close the windows. I don't want somebody to call Child Protective Services.
Listen, so like I said, like just Daniels was the one, okay? But I don't know, it was just kind of weird because, when my mom was around, it was like, okay, we can do whatever, we get home from school, you chilling, you watching TV, getting something to eat, you doing whatever you want to do. My mom's there. But as soon as you heard that garage door open, you knew Dad was home. So it was automatic. Okay, you hurrying up, you vacuuming the floor, you start washing dishes, you just do something to look like that you're busy or that you had something to do. So that when my dad walked through the door, you wasn't looking idle. You was looking like you was doing something. Mm-hmm. So that, like I said, that although, it wasn't, he never delivered in the physical punishment or whatever the case was, you still kind of made sure you was right. You know what I'm saying? You still, you at least looked like you was right.
Right. So do you think that by him being a pastor of a church and then trying to guide really volunteers, and then him going through things that other people are doing or not doing that he wished they would do, did that correlate and help him in raising you? And what made him be more disciplined, a disciplinarian, and having you living in that type of environment to where, mm-hmm. My dad's coming up, the garage door's open, and it's time for me to get right.
You know what? I think that just me, like I said, I don't know how my dad did things or saw things from his perspective. But for me, Dr. Daniels is completely separate person than Dad. Completely different.
How so?
Like, I never looked at my dad as Pastor Daniels. I know he's Pastor Daniels. I see him in church, and growing up, my whole life, he was the pastor of a church, and I get that. And, it's like his calling, that's his job, Right. But I think is it the same way as when he looks at me, or either you've known me for a long time. When you look at me, you probably don't see Detective Daniels, or you don't see, police officer, Daniels. You just see Chad or CD or whoever.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like right. he never, just like I never, bring the law to my friends and say, well, we did have about 6 drinks, so you ain't supposed to drive when we leave here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never said that to nobody. It was the same thing. Like, I never got the biblical aspect of,
So he never sat you down and was like, in Proverbs.
No.
So that never happened.
Now, like I said, I learned a lot about the Bible just because I grew up in church.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, and I paid attention. So me growing up in church, and then of course, if I had any questions about the Bible, and even to this day, like my dad will tell you, I call him all the time, and I'll say, hey, Dad, and I still say, hey, Dad. I don't say, hey, Pastor. I say, hey, Dad. I said, I just want to clarify something. I was thinking that XYZ. I'm thinking this, and it's a biblical question or a religious question, however you want to view it. And I will always ask him those questions to clarify things that, I may have read or may have heard or whatever the case is. But growing up, no, we never got sat down and was preached to. But of course, I knew about the Bible from growing up in church. And so if I ever had questions about, things that I've, may have heard or that I didn't know how to interpret from the Bible, I would still go to him and ask the question. So it was just kind of like, I had a father that knew the Bible versus I had a father who was a pastor. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I understand completely. So, Dr. Daniels, is there anything that you wish you would have done better or improved on in raising your children?
Well, I think like most parents, the problem with being a parent is you don't learn until it's too late.
Right.
Because you don't really get it while you're going to school, and so it's on the job training. I think probably the only thing that I would have changed, I think my basic parenting skills, were a combination of my mother and my father, and I think I learned well from them. The only thing I would have changed probably is I saw myself as being a provider.
Mm-hmm.
Which required me to be gone, away from the home a lot. So I think that's probably the only thing I would have changed, is that I would have spent more time, at home as opposed to being gone. I worked two full-time jobs at one time.
Right.
So in addition, one of the jobs required me to travel a lot. So I was always, out of the state, things like that. I think that would be the only thing I would change. But I would say this, oftentimes people get the impression that, I'm a harsh disciplinarian. Actually, I don't know how, my son and my daughter view it. But if you compare what they went through to most, other children in our community, I was really pretty liberal, actually. It wasn't, it wasn't like it was a harsh thing.
Right.
It was that, here are the rules, and we, give, for example, I had a rule. One of my rules said, if you're not in the house by 11, this is, during school nights.
Right.
If you're not in the house by 11, then I'll see you the next day.
So during the school night, they had a curfew at 11 o'clock?
Right.
Wow.
So, and
that is very liberal.
Right. So it wasn't like I was, be home before the sun come up.
Right.
It was be home by 11, or the issue was not school. See, that wasn't the issue. The issue was I got to get up at 6 o'clock and go to work.
Right.
And so because of that, don't wake me up.
Gotcha.
I want you to be in the house so that when I go to sleep and I set the alarm, I don't have to wake up.
Right.
So now if you come home after 11, you just can't come in the house. You just stay where you are, sleep in the car, do what you got to do. You stay where you are. Now, some people might call that harsh, but my thing was it's simple. Hey, you have a right to break the rule.
Right.
But if you break the rule, you suffer the consequence.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's true.
So I thought 11 was pretty liberal, to be quite honest with you.
It is. It's very liberal. So is there any instance where you actually missed curfew and had to spend the night outside in the streets?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yep. And like you said, I knew what the rule was. The rule was you had to be back at a certain time, or else you had to stay outside.
So what time did you get back home?
I don't remember. I just remember it was outside the time, allotted to get back in the house, because I knew the alarm was set.
Right.
And I knew I was going to try to open the door to set the alarm off and all that kind of stuff. So, and then, this at the time, I had a car, had a loud exhaust on it.
Right.
So I remember coming to the neighborhood and, I turned the car off, man, put it in neutral and kind of coasted all the way down to the house. I sat in front of the house and I was like, well, I got to be out here, crying the seat back, try to go to sleep. It's hard to sleep in the car when you ain't used to sleeping in the car, you just sleep in the bed, So then I was like, man, I got to use the bathroom. So I was like, what am I going to do? And, it occurred to me, okay, well, you just go in the backyard. I ain't think about that. So I'm like, man, I'm thinking, where can I use the bathroom? Who was open this late at night? It was probably about like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Right. And
I was like, you know what? It is a 7-Eleven up the street. And I know they got the bathroom. So I was like, man, I got to start this car. And I knew it was loud, but I just went ahead and started it, and drove to 7-Eleven. Got a little something, something to eat, something to drink a little bit, used the bathroom, came back, stayed in the car for the rest of the night. When 7 o'clock came around next morning, then I was able to get inside the house. And it was all good.
did you hear the car start back up?
Actually, I heard him when he came. I heard him when he left.
Wow.
But the rules are the rules. And so
would your reaction have been different if you did not hear him come back home and he was out?
No, because here's how I viewed it. And I know there's some folks that probably say, man, that's kind of hard, but it's life, you know. And here's what my viewpoint was. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that something happened at 4 o'clock. Let's just say that he was dead. Now, not that I would want that to ever happen, but let's say he was dead at 4 o'clock. Would he be less dead at 7 o'clock?
No.
I know. So what difference would it make? So what difference would it make whether I found out at 4 or whether I found out at 7? Okay? So now, again, I'm just saying, I know there's gonna be some folks that say, you know what, I'm not gonna listen to another podcast based on what he just said. But I'm just saying, the reality of it is this: when I go to bed at night, and I pray for my children, and I guess that's the real context of it. When I pray for my children, and I do this every night, I haven't stopped even though they are grown. I put them in God's care, and since they're in God's care, He can handle it much better than I can. Right. So why should I worry if they're in God's care? And again, that's a biblical principle. Job, who was one of the patriarchs in the Bible, that's what he did for his children. He said, "I'm praying for them because just in case they did something wrong, right. I'm in prayer for them. There's nothing you can do but put them in God's care. And if you're going to put them in God's care, there's nothing to worry about it."
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, Pastor, you got me with that one. That one was so good thing, Chad, that you wasn't dead.
Right. And so now you gotta ask yourself this. Now, Savannah, let's say Savannah's 16, 17.
Right.
And you tell her she need to be home by, 10, 11 o'clock. Or else that's it. Now what you gonna do? As Savannah decides that she wanna stay out.
Man. So this is it's about good 10, 12 years from now, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully I've had 10, 12 years of like Enoch Baptist Church and Pastor Daniel pumped into me by then. But right now, all hell go break loose. I'm just being honest.
So you didn't take the Sister Daniel approach.
Right, yeah, the Sister Daniel approach. Like, no. Mm-hmm. Now I will say, I feel like I would be the type of parent, though, that it does take two to tango in a situation like that. So if she was out with another boy, I'm not going to be that one father that takes it all out on the male. Mm-hmm. Because the female, you had to know you was breaking the rules to go do what you were going to do. Now, and I've heard stories, from my wife, which I ain't going to get into detail with, but how she stayed out late.
Yeah, I remember.
So I'm not, and I told her, there ain't no way, I told her, there ain't no way in hell this is going to happen in the Baker household. Mm-hmm. That's what I told her. And she would just laugh and say, just wait. I said, I hope she don't get your, because I never tried to sneak out.
She got the Sherry McLean in her.
Well, that's the thing. The sneaking out is an issue depending on how your parents deal with you.
Right.
See, and that's why you don't want to. That's why the scripture says, "What? Don't provoke your children to wrath," because you don't want to put your children in a place where they feel like they have to sneak out. Now, I'm not saying that they won't, but if you lay the consequences out up front, if you lay them out up front, if you do this, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And let's say they do stay out late, and you come home, they come home, and then you in the collar and you smacking them around. Do you really think that's going to change what they did when they was out there?
Right.
All they're going to do is do it at a different time. So, if they went to the hotel and just left the room at 3 o'clock, well, they can still go to the hotel and just leave the room at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, good point.
So it's not like they can't do the same thing. So the issue is not, that's why to me the issue is not, well, let me just lay you out. The issue is let me teach you something. You need to learn something from what you're doing. You need to understand why I'm doing it. Because sometimes we as parents are doing it because we feel like you're disrespecting us. Like, don't disrespect my house. Right. That's really what you're mad about. How you gonna disrespect my house coming in that late? Well, okay, let me come in the morning then. I'm not disrespecting your house. I'm coming in early because I came in 7 a.m. So, our thing often is, what were you doing between the hours of 12 o'clock midnight and 7 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
Well, the very same thing you were doing between 5 p.m. and 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because if I was in a hotel room, that's why I'm out there late, I've already done the deed.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
So, I'm just not, now, please understand, I'm not advocating, not being a parent. I'm not advocating letting your children run wild. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if you teach your children, and the Bible tells us, teach them the way that they should go, and they won't stray far from it. And so that's a principle I think we all have to apply. Teach them. You teach them, and they won't stray far from it. You can beat them all you want. If whooping a child would change behavior, you would only need one whooping.
That's true. But doesn't a hot stove teach many lessons?
Teaches me to hide. It teaches me not to touch that stove, but don't teach me to stop cooking.
That's true, but it teaches you how to cook, so to speak.
No, just
or what not to do when you're cooking.
Right, that's all it does. So I'm just saying, for example, does getting locked up keep you out of jail?
Well, I would say for some, maybe.
No, because most people in jail, this ain't their first time.
That's true.
So locking them up didn't keep them out. What would have stopped them from going to jail is to educate them so they would have the tools they needed not to go back.
So, Chad, being in law enforcement, do you feel to have the same thought process on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because most of the people that I have arrested, because I did a stint in warrants, but that's all I did was just pick people up in warrants. Shout out to the twin. But that's all I did was just pick people up, and yeah, most of the people that I've picked up, probably a good 9 out of 10, almost all of them, had been to jail before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it definitely wasn't their first rodeo.
So do you think it's because the first time they went, the stigma is off, now I don't really care anymore about going there, or
the fear is that you haven't taught them anything.
Mm-hmm.
Locking you up does not teach you anything. Mm-hmm. All it suggests to you is that I need to be more careful the next time. But it doesn't solve the problem of why you went in the first place.
Right.
And it's the same thing about child rearing. If every time a child does something, you spank the child, all it teaches a child to do is to hide and lie to you. But if you try to explain, most people don't want to harm themselves. You can take that to the bank.
Right.
Most people don't want to harm themselves. So if you can explain to your child, just like the Bible explains to us why God wants us to do certain things, if you can explain to your child why their actions is harmful to them or to you, you see, here's the thing. I think for the most part that my children respected me and treated me a certain way also because they did not want to harm me, because they realized what I was doing. They realized how hard I worked. They realized all those kind of things.
Right.
So they didn't want to harm me, because those are the way in the terms I would explain things to them.
Right.
Either how it was harmful to me, how it would be harmful to them. So if you don't want to harm yourself, you won't do it. I'll give you a quick example. When Chad first said he wanted a motorcycle prior to buying a car, and I was trying to explain to him why you don't want to buy a motorcycle first. No, Dad, yes, I do. I said, this is what we're going to do. I had a Mazda B2000 truck. I said, get in the back of this truck. Mm-hmm. He got in the back of the truck. It was probably like 40 degrees. And I said, I'm going to drive home with you in the back of the truck. I was about maybe a mile from the house.
Right.
Now we get home. I say, now, how'd that feel? Well, of course, he was pretty cold.
Right.
That's how it feels riding a motorcycle in the wintertime. You need to buy a car first.
Right.
Now, he still bought a motorcycle, but he got a car first.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember that vividly?
Mm-hmm.
How cold was it in the back of that truck?
Man, it was cold. Yeah.
So, Pastor, how do you think it would have been different if you raising Chad and Katrina if you had not been a pastor?
I don't think it probably would have been a lot different, because my parents were extremely different in the way they raised us. My mother was whoop first, ask questions later kind of person. My father is after they divorced, he was let's sit down and talk about it. So, his way of dealing with any issue was, let's talk about it, explain it to me, tell me why you did it, and let me tell you why you shouldn't have did it, kind of thing. And so, I kind of use a combination of two. Now, I will say I was not as patient as my father. I don't think anybody is as patient as he was. But I was certainly not on the other spectrum either. So I think I probably would have still been, close to where I was. I wish I could have been as patient as my dad. And I was patient in everything except one area. The one area that I was not as patient as my dad was in education. In that, I was more like my mother in that I really pushed them to do well in school. Now, I won't say that they always understood what I was trying to do. That's what I pushed for. My father's viewpoint was different. My father would say, simple. He'd say, listen, somebody got to pick up trash. Somebody got to, be on the French fries.
Right.
Somebody got to do that. So he would if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. Just make sure you do it because you want to do it, not because you have to do it.
Right.
My mother was different. It was, you're going to bring them grades up, or I'm going upside your head.
Right.
It was just that simple. So for me, my thing with them was this: A and B students can shop in the mall. C and D students going to Roses.
So how often you using Roses?
Probably since about the 11th grade. I ain't started picking my grades up until I got the car.
Yeah.
My father bought me a car. Then it was, if you don't keep your grades up, you're taking the car.
Right.
And so then that was the game changer for me. That was like, okay, well, listen, I got to keep this car. You know what I'm saying? Because I like being able to. I mean, come on, this is your first car. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, all your friends was rolling, man, and so you had to have a car. If you didn't have a car, then you was just whack.
Yeah.
So that was a game changer for me. And
so how do you plan on, if you ever have kids, how do you plan on being? What kind of father you plan on being?
Well, it's I really never gave it that much thought. It's just because, I really don't, see myself having no kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's not my calling right now.
Right.
That ain't my calling within the next 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I will say, if
3, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
9, 10, 11, 12. But, if I had, just say, hypothetically, I would definitely lean to my father for advice. Just because, I just think that, he did a good job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not just only because of where I'm at now, because I really wish I would have listened to him a lot more, being older, seeing how things are, in life in general. I wish I would have listened to a lot of stuff that he said, because I'd probably be in a different place, not necessarily going to say better, but just in a different place, financially, just in general. Better is relative, but I think that it would have been better. But I would probably just lean to him and, just get advice. But I probably more, do more of the things that I've seen him do.
Right.
And raising a kid.
Now, so Sisters Not Iyanla Fixed My Life. I'm not going to dive deeper into that one. And I apologize for the podcast listeners, because, I pride myself on asking deep questions. But I'm not going to go any deeper with that question.
Might as well. Go ahead.
People just going to have to just come up to Chad at church and ask him the follow-up questions to some of the things he just said.
Come on, man. Let's go. Look, man. Get the people what they want, man. Get the people what they want. Come on, man. Let's dig deeper.
But Everyday Strong with Dr. Michael G. Daniels is not for that type of format.
Okay, all right.
So, as a whole, for both of y'all, what advice would you give new parents even older parents with teenagers that's coming up, like they're hitting their teens, and the daughters are starting to flex their muscle a little bit. The males are starting, they're getting taller than the mothers now, and they're looking at them like, what are you going to do to me now? So what's type of advice to this new crop of generation of kids that people are raising?
I would say you have to remember what you were. To me, one of the biggest mistakes I think parents make is they remember who they were and make it a negative, rather than remembering who and what they were and being more flexible. And so I recognize that I didn't do everything my parents wanted me to do, and I didn't expect my children to do everything that I wanted them to do. I bent the law quite a bit when I was a teenager. And so I expected the same thing from my children. And did I want them to do it? No. But I wasn't going to just, blow my top because they did it either.
Right.
And I think if you can do that, it kind of changes things a little bit. You figure when you're a teenager, for example, there's no doubt in my mind that there was some young teenage girl that you ran behind,
Right.
And so to expect your daughter not to also have some teenage boy running behind her is really not realistic.
Right.
So you got to look at it in that light. And, and like you said, you came home 3, 4 o'clock in the morning at one point, and your parents didn't yell at you.
Right.
So the same thing. They may come home 3 or 4 o'clock and give you a story that you'd be like, no way I'm going to buy this lie.
Right.
But it might be perfectly acceptable. It might be perfectly true. I think that's what you have to do. You have to just remember that, if their behavior is age appropriate, don't get upset.
Is that any advice? From the outside looking in, and really from what you're seeing in law enforcement, you had to be running across some things like common threads with people that you say, I wish, families would do X, Y, and Z.
I mean, well, because especially now, because I work in domestic violence and missing persons unit, and not necessarily so much of domestic violence, but missing persons, we run into runaways all the time. That's the majority of our workload, 13s on up to 17-year-old kids that want to run away, and you talk to them, and it's because, they don't get along with their mom, or they don't get along with their dad, or this, that, and the third.
Right.
I mean, I can't really offer too much necessarily advice to the kids. I mean, just in law enforcement in general, I think that it has a lot to do with parenting in general. It's just parenting all the way. And like I said, I can't speak on the parents on how they need to parent. Whatever Dr. Daniel say, I think they should follow. But it's just parenting. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because I grew up in middle school and high school and whatever the case is, and I've listened to the Bone Thugs and the 50 Cents and Jay-Z's and all that and the third, and I've been around that crew. I've had friends in high school who was committing felonies and who was doing this and who was doing that and the third. So it's not necessarily all about the society that you're in. I mean, although granted, I grew up, I had a pool in the backyard, the basketball goal, and went in Western Brand. So I'm not saying I grew up in the hood, but what I'm saying is that if, in my opinion, just from what I see in my job, it all falls on how the parent parents the child. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So is there any type of resources out in Virginia Beach that parents can reach out to and their children, with the families and whatnot? Is there anything at the church that we offer to help in situations like that, where you have a child that wants to run away and they're coming back in the family, to actually help mend that?
Well, we do offer, counseling services for both, parents, child, and also for, family counseling. But parenting, has to begin before the child is born. It really is. It's not a now let me start. But if you are, weak in your parenting skills, you got to know your children, and oftentimes parents don't want to know their children. They want to know about their child, what they think their child should be, but that's not necessarily who your child is.
Right.
If your child is happens to be, doing heroin or smoking pot or whatever, you got to know your child. You got to know why your child is doing the thing that they're doing.
Right.
And so rather than just being angry and yelling and screaming, you got to try to figure out and understand why they did it. And what they're doing and where they're leading. Just like my son said, he didn't grow up in the hood. I didn't grow up in the hood per se, but it was so close you could spit at it. All right.
Right.
And most of my friends are ex-felons. Many of them, when I say felons, many of them convicted of murder, convicted of money laundering, convicted of course, being drug kingpins.
Right.
Extortion. Those kind of things. Federal time and state time. And I was a part of that crowd, But the difference was, as being a part of that crowd, I also understood that was not my career.
Right.
Now I could have been caught,
right,
and served time, but I understood that was not my career.
Gotcha.
And so for them, it was a career move to sell drugs. For me, it was, well, I need some new tires for my car.
Right.
So I'm going to do this, but I'm still going to college, kind of thing.
Right.
And so, but it was parenting. Now, did my parents know I was doing that? Well, my father knew I was dealing in stolen goods. In fact, my father would say, "Can you hook me up?" And, so. Now, I mean, he condoned it. He just knew that, hey, you're doing it, so whatever. If you get another TV, then bring it on home.
Right.
That kind of deal. So, but he tried to understand, and I think it was because of that I got to a point where I didn't want to disappoint him, and I think that was key. And I didn't want to disappoint him. Again, my mother was the same way. Because I didn't want to disappoint them, I stopped doing stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think as a child or as a kid or teenager, whatever the case is, if you can get to the level where you respect your parents and value and like deeply value their their opinions and what you say, then you'll be able to, then that's of course what's going to get you that trust. And then also you'll be able to tell the truth about everything.
Right.
Because it's just like when I go to my dad for advice, I look at it as the same way as going to an attorney or going to a doctor or something like that. Like, if I have, if I have issues, if I'm having, let's say concussion protocol, right? In the NFL, and you just got lit up, right? And you couldn't stay on your feet. You couldn't hear anything for a couple of seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like you saw the bright light, whatever the case is. And when you talking to the doctor and they're asking you, okay, well, what's going on? You can do one or two things. You can tell the truth about it or you can lie about it. But if you tell the truth about it, then that will give them a better understanding of the whole scope of what's going on, so they can know exactly what they need to do and how they need to do it, and what advice they can give to you and what they can prescribe you, whatever case if you're a doctor, same thing if you're a lawyer. If you killed the person and you did kill the person, you need to tell the lawyer you killed them, how you killed them, and where you killed them. So that way your defense attorney can say, okay, and they can try to come up with a way to fix that as to, and with their defense, you know what I'm saying? So they can make sure they have the best case for you and explaining why you were there, explaining how you got this, and explaining, why this and that and the third. And that's the same thing with my father. Like, I think I've, just from growing up and with everything he's told me, when I go to him with advice, I'm telling him the whole truth about everything, because I know I have that respect, I have that trust, and I know that I can't get a specific, remedy for the issue or advice unless he knows the whole big picture. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what really, what really benefited me.
That comes with the trust factor too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, kids may not trust their parent, and this may sound crazy what I'm saying, but trusting your parent enough to be able to tell them everything. But it goes back to
No,
what you
it
were
doesn't
saying.
sound crazy. It's true with most parents.
Yeah.
Because if I tell you something, let's say if I say something like this, tell me the truth. If you tell me the truth, I won't punish you. Then so when I tell you the truth, you slap me
Right.
and say, well, you know you shouldn't have did that. Well, see, now I can't trust you because you just told me if I'll be honest with you, you're
Right.
not going to punish me, but you just did.
Right.
And so the same thing, that's why with me, like, when Chad talked about the candy incident, and the reason why he don't remember the punishment is because there was no real harsh punishment. Because
Right.
I had said, tell me the truth and you won't get it. But I just want to know the truth. Now, had he fessed up like the first time I said it, there would have been no punishment. But it took a while. We had to go through the house. I had to find the wrapper. I found the evidence. The evidence was in the bathroom on the sink.
Mm-hmm.
And once I found the evidence, I'm like, so I know y'all ate it because it's a wrapper. So I know, but still the punishment was such that he don't even remember the punishment.
Right.
But but sometimes a parent will say, I'm not going to punish you, and then get mad and blow up and
Right.
punish you anyway. And that's what causes distrust. So parents have to understand that punishment is not always the answer. If you want your child to trust you, you got to do for your child what you would hope the police would do for you if you get caught speeding.
Right.
You don't want the policeman to give you a ticket every time. You want them to just say, hey, listen, slow down. I'm going to let you go this time.
Right.
And if they do that, you'll start trusting policemen. And the same thing with parents. If we do that, our children will trust us.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Chad, for joining the show, this episode here. And Dr. Daniels, anything else you'd like to say before we close out?
Well, as always, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone that we won't see between now and Thanksgiving Day. And be safe, drive careful, and make sure that wherever you're going, you get there safely. So don't rush, take your time.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. This is your host, C.B. Baker. Till next time.